TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donation. Shalom ve'erev tov, good evening. Welcome to our daily TV7 Israel News Bulletin, broadcast from Jerusalem. Israel praises the European Union's 27 member states for designating Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps. Türkiye blames Israel for allegedly lobbying the United States to strike the Ayatollah Regime in Tehran. And U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth asserts his department is ready to execute President Donald Trump's directives vis-à-vis the Islamic Republic of Iran. Israel praises the foreign ministers of 27 member states of the European Union for achieving unanimity in designating the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, or IRGC, of Iran's Ayatollah Regime a terrorist organization.
The decision of the European Union foreign ministers to declare Iran's Revolutionary Guards a terrorist organization is an important and historic decision. In the countless conversations I have had with the foreign ministers of European countries, I have explained to them the enormous practical significance of taking this step, which will affect a body that controls a huge part of the Iranian economy and is also currently leading the murderous oppression of the Iranian people, after having led for decades the spread of terrorism and instability throughout the Middle East. This also has great significance in encouraging the sons and daughters of the Iranian people who are fighting for their freedom, and it has another significance that perhaps stands above all others. The legitimacy of this murderous and repressive regime has been cracked today in a very significant way, and this is of enormous importance. This is also an important achievement in a very long struggle that we have waged, which has achieved achievements to date in countries around the world, but today has reached a very significant point, in my opinion, a turning point.
Following the designation of the IRGC, the European Commission's foreign policy chief, Kaja Kallas, dubbed the decision of the European Union's 27 member states as important and historic.
In Iran, horrific crackdown on protesters has come at a heavy human cost. The EU already has sweeping sanctions in place, and today ministers agreed to designate Iran Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist organization. This will put them on the same footing with Daesh, Hamas, Hezbollah, Al-Qaeda. Those who operate through terror must be treated as terrorists. Ministers also imposed sanctions on those responsible for the brutal crackdown of protests, including the Minister of Interior. Repression cannot go unanswered. Beyond this, ministers adopted new sanctions on those involved in Iran's war support to Russia and expanded export controls. Ministers were clear that Iran must release all those unjustly detained, including the European Union citizens. Going forward, we must be ready to further increase pressure on the authorities and continue supporting Iran's civil society.
It is important to point out that in contrast to the remarks by Kallas, the IRGC are charged with terrorist activities mandated by the Ayatollah regime outside of Iran's boundaries, while the Basij forces are mandated by the Islamic Republic supreme leader to brutally suppress the Iranian people to guarantee the regime's survivability. Separately, the EU institution's foreign policy chief also asserted, in response to a question on whether the European Union backs the United States in its war against the Islamic Republic, Kallas said she thinks that the Middle East does not need more wars.
When it comes to attacks, then I think the region does not need a new war.
Meanwhile, the Ayatollah regime does not intend to stand idly by in response to the European Union's designation of its terrorist arm, the IRGC.
Merely labeling an institution that originates from the Iranian people, that bears the responsibility of safeguarding an entire nation, that assumes the security of the Persian Gulf, and that played a decisive role in countering ISIS terrorism, is a contemptible and illogical act. The Islamic Republic of Iran, therefore, considers it its legitimate right to adopt reciprocal measures.
In a desperate effort to dissuade the United States from launching its decisive strikes on the Ayatollah regime in Tehran, Turkey's Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan hosted his Iranian counterpart Abbas Araghchi for talks in Ankara earlier today, during the course of which Turkey's top diplomat sought to convince his Iranian counterpart to accept a long list of prerequisite demands from the United States. Nevertheless, Minister Araghchi clearly stated that the Ayatollah regime would not agree to anything unless the United States stands down and negotiates, as it has done under prior administrations, which allowed the Ayatollah regime to evade any consequences to its actions for many decades.
The results of the negotiations will be determined at the negotiation table, not before the talks. If one side wants to impose its demands in advance, this is no longer a negotiation, and the Islamic Republic of Iran will never enter into such talks. I should also state unequivocally that Iran's defensive and missile capabilities and Iran's missiles will never be the subject of any negotiations. I do not think any country is prepared to compromise with anyone over its own security and defense. The security of the Iranian people is no one else's business, and we will preserve and expand our defensive capabilities to whatever extent is necessary to defend the country.
برای دفاع از کشور لازم باشه حفظ خواهیم کرد و گسترش خواهیم داد.
Turkey's Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan, for his part, said that he had talked with U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff before his meeting with the Iranian Foreign Minister, and that Ankara relayed its vehement objection to an American attack against the Islamic Republic. Moreover, in an attempt to find a viable solution, Minister Fidan noted that Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan held a phone conversation earlier today with his Iranian counterpart, Masoud Pezeshkian, and that they were trying to convince the Americans to accept Tehran's stated prerequisites for diplomacy.
Yesterday, I had a very long meeting with Steve Witkoff before meeting with my brother. I also had meetings with some of our friends in the region. We shared certain views today. We will be meeting with Americans from now on as well. We have conveyed to all our counterparts at every opportunity, starting with our president, that we are against a military intervention in Iran. Our president also spoke with Mr. Pezeshkian on the phone this morning. We reiterate here that we are against resorting to military options to solve the problems. We do not believe that this will be very effective.
Minister Fidan went on to claim that Israel was to blame for the Trump administration's attitude toward the Ayatollah regime in Tehran, rather than the defiance of the Islamic Republic itself, which reportedly committed mass murder of some 30,000 Iranian civilians after President Donald Trump had already warned that the United States would hold the mullahs in Tehran responsible for their actions.
We also see that Israel is trying to persuade the U.S. to launch a military attack on Iran. These Israeli efforts have the potential to severely damage the already fragile stability of our region. We hope that the U.S. administration will act with common sense and not allow this to happen. Israel must end its destabilizing policies in the region.
Meanwhile, in Washington, President Trump said he would be open to negotiations with the Ayatollah regime if it would conform with America's demands.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, have you had any conversations with Iran in the last few days, and are you planning on any?
I have had, and I am planning on it, yeah. We have a lot of very big, very powerful ships sailing to Iran right now, and it would be great if we didn't have to use them. Okay?
Can you say what the message was that you shared with Iranians?
Well, I told them two things. Number one, no nuclear, And number two, stop killing protesters. They're killing them by the thousands. You know, I stopped 837 hangings 2 weeks ago, but they're going to have to do something. Nobody's seen anything like it.
Prior to President Trump's remarks during a cabinet meeting at the White House, U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth ascertained that the United States Department of War is ready to execute President Donald Trump's instructions.
They have all the options to make a deal. They should not pursue nuclear capabilities. We will be prepared to deliver whatever this president expects of the War Department.
Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. I would like to encourage you, keep praying for the Iranian people. Pray also for the leadership in Washington and the American troops amassing in this region. Also for the Israeli troops and, of course, other militaries that are assisting both the United States, Israel, and other partners and allies in the region. And pray as ever for the peace of Jerusalem and redemption of Israel. Also, not least important is the fact that TV7 Israel is a donation-based ministry, an organization that is very much reliant on your generosity. Therefore, if you're blessed by our productions, I'd like to encourage you to make a donation. You can do so via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. I'm Jonathan Hassan, wishing you an Erev Mevorach, God willing. Until our next broadcast, Shabbat Shalom from Jerusalem.